Over the last year and a half, I've been working on the four-place. I'm probably not as far along as I could have been, but I've been working on the narrow body also. So I'm going to go over where I'm at on it now. I've got all the stringers fit. I've got the interior baggage and interior panels done. I've got brakes mounted, brake lines ran, fuel lines ran, instrument panel fitted with the boot cowl I built. I've started on the front cowling. I've got it mocked up with the exception of the side cheeks. And I've got the skylight made. I haven't done the rear skylight or the greenhouse, the L21 glass yet, but it's on my list. And so right now it's almost to the point that I could cover it. In fact, if I did the skylight and put the stringers on, I could cover it right now. Haven't done any mock-up on the instrument panel itself, but the windshield is fitted, windshield strips are made. So I'm pretty far along actually. I haven't done anything to the wings, but they're ready to cover. I've got it sitting just temporarily on gear so I can move it around. So I'll show you where I'm at on the narrow body here in a few minutes. In my machine shop, I've added a new machine, brand new ST30. In fact, it hasn't even cut apart yet. Just got it a week or so ago. So now I've got a pretty good setup for doing what I do day in, day out. I've got two ST30s and then 3 Haas VF2s. And that's what I do to make a living during the work week. Right now I am making calipers for a private individual. These are calipers that aren't available any longer, so I'm making them from billet. So I took the original caliper you see here, and it's a Cleveland caliper, and drew it up and made it out of billet. So these are almost done. I just have a couple more ports to add to them and they will be complete. And then I'll be starting on the wheels that go with these calipers. It's cold out where I'm at here. It's not cold by Alaska standards, but I'm painting today and I think it's about 35 degrees out. We had about 6 inches of snow 2 nights ago, and so I'm gonna head into my paint booth and I'll show you my progress. This is one of the wet sanding sessions, part of it anyway. It takes a lot of work to paint an airplane. Okay, so I'm working on the narrow body cub. It's ready for the last coats of color. I've put 2 sessions of primer on it. So you start out and you do a session cross coat, which is a session north to south and then a session east to west basically. And then you wet sand and then you do another session of primer. This is a super flight. And then you wet sand again. And then you do a coat of color, basically 2 coats, one north south, one east west. And then you wet sand again, and now I'm on the last session. So the one that matters. They all matter, but this one matters the most. So in the next 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and get my paint mixed up and start shooting. But during this time of year, I run little space heaters in here, and then my fan sucks everything out of here, including the heat. So I'll shoot the paint with the fan on, suck all the overspray out, which there's not a lot. I use a turbine paint sprayer, and so it puts it on, turbine with an HVLP, so it puts it on pretty cleanly. And that's about it. So I'm gonna get painting. I'm anxious to get this done. Then I can hang the wings and start making it into an airplane again. It's gonna have a black stripe down it, so I've got basically 2 more days of paint, today and tomorrow. And then I can pull it, get it on its gear, get the boot cowl on, get the engine hung, and move it to the airport. This paint is a polyurethane and it's got isocyanides in it. So you need a fresh air supply. You're supposed to wear goggles, but goggles suck. So I wear reading glasses and do my best with trying to keep the paint out of my eyes. So I'm gonna mix the paint. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts paint to 1 part catalyst, and then reduce as required to get it to spray properly. It's all in the instructions. I use this prep all for wiping down the airplane. So first I wipe it down with just clear water, and I get most of the residue off with clear water, and then before I shoot it, I wipe it down with this prep all, make sure it flashes off, dries completely, and then I tack it off with a tack rag lightly. You don't want to rub the tack rag very hard on the surface because you'll leave basically a spot where the paint might fisheye on you. And then next I'll mix the paint, and then I'll strain it through the strainer, and then I'll be ready to paint. And I'm just gonna time lapse that, so I'm probably not gonna talk anymore now. This first coat of this 2-coat wet coat session went fine. I did notice that it's much cooler in the paint booth than I'd hoped because of the weather outside. As I said, I probably should not have been painting today. On this last cross coat, I noticed that I had a run, and so I spun the airplane quickly to try to get gravity to work in my favor. Unfortunately, the only thing I could do on one of the runs was to take a piece of tape and pull it. It's kind of an old painter's trick. If you put masking tape with the sticky side down in the run and pull it, you can pull it out, and a lot of times the paint will flow back in to where you pulled it from, and you can't see it very much. The only other option is to wet sand after the fact and buff. If I could go back and rewind time, this is what was going on 30 minutes beforehand. You may be asking yourself, if you've watched any of my other videos, this airplane looks really familiar. So what happened here? Back in February of 2022, I was at the beginning of the end of a 36-year marriage, and my decision-making skills were off. The wind was actually a quartering tailwind, and so the wind was not in my favor. The airplane was taking off downhill, so you got gravity working against you, and then you had P factor on top of it. So with all those things combined, I would say in about 3 seconds I was out of sorts and headed for the tree. And in fact, I didn't see the tree until I basically hit it, and then that's when the work begins. Fortunately, neither one of us was seriously injured. If I had hit the tree head on, I'm pretty sure it would have killed both of us. I've never hit anything so hard in my life and stayed conscious, and it hurt. So I was glad that I had my helmet, and I was glad I had my restraint. This accident happened, I believe, February 25th of 2022, and I've been working on the airplane off and on ever since. I've also been working on the 4-place Cub. Over the last 2 years, I've done quite a few different adventures. This happens to be one of the adventures I did with my daughter, Aubrey Ann. Walking up the Minum.
Oh.
We're making our way down. I dropped my knife. Gotta go get it. So Ami is making her way down. Anyway, we have bushwhacked about probably a half a mile to get to the Minum River from the Minum Trail. When we took the trail, we were thinking that it followed the Minum River, but it does not. So we decided at some point we needed to get to the river, because we figured as we go too far up, the river is going to get too small to actually float it with alpacas. And so now we have made it to the river. And you may have to put air in your boat pretty quickly because the water's so much colder than the air we put in. There are very, very many bright spots in my life, and one of them is my daughter. We've seen 2 huge bald eagles. If I was quicker with the camera, I could have filmed them, but it would not have been as impressive as it really was. This is an annual float trip that my daughter and I have done, I think, since she was about 17 or 18 years old. So it's been going on for about 10 to 12 years now, and we fly over to Idaho every year for either the first or second week in August and float the Selway River from Shearer to Moose Creek. We were anxious to get a float in before our other friends got here, so we decided to hike up the Selway and not even set up our tents properly. Hi-ho, hi-ho, it's off to work we go.
I thought you were just singing.
We're walking through the woods above Shearer, and we're taking our alpaca rafts, and we're going to raft down river we're going to go above Shearer and raft back down to Shearer. Who knows how far we'll go. We made it 3 miles yesterday on the Minam, but this is easier traveling, so maybe we'll make it further. We're on our way as the thunderstorm is beginning. So anyway, we're going to get wet one way or another. You want to hear something even worse? Both of our tents.
Oh, fuck! Fuck or not?
Our sleep bags are going to be soaked. And the sun finally has come out. Feels good. Aubrianne's pumping some water. Anyway, it's been a nice little run through here. I have some really great friends, and even though I've wrecked more than a few airplanes, Doug Keller was more than happy to put me into his pristine white and red Super Cub and let me take it as much as I wanted to, anywhere I wanted to go.